Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. So we're staying fairly unsettled the next day or so before it does look likely towards the weekend we will settle down with some higher pressure building in. It could be quite warm later this working week into the weekend as we do start to pull up quite a warm air mass with southerly winds with the higher pressure. However, towards next week, it does look like we will be going quite unsettled, potentially even stormy again, as we do see the westerly winds really pick up around the middle of the month. It does look likely we will see some big low pressure systems push in. We could see a slightly southerly tracking jet, so it could turn us average to colder than average in terms of the air masses. Nothing ridiculous, but much cooler than it has been recently. And there are signs still in the longer range, as we'll see on the GFS, of some blocking. But that is staying in the longer range for the time being, so I don't want to concentrate on that too much. But again, we'll hint on it in the GFS and see what could be happening toward the last sort of week or so of the month. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. So do start on the live radar. You can see we've got a lot of dry weather around actually today, but a few showers still around across parts of England and Wales, and Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland of a more steady band of precipitation pushing in. It's quite heavy rain within that. And that is trying to make its way eastwards, and we will continue to be reasonably unsettled over the next 24 hours or so. Now, if you put on the temperatures, it's around 4 PM as I'm recording this, you can see we are generally around average for the time of year, around 11, 12 degrees for the highs, so nothing ridiculously cold, but nothing particularly mild either. It does look likely we're going to be continuing this before it turns much milder, potentially in the next couple of days, before turning, again, average to below average into next week. But yellow's around, showing low teens for the maxes, which again, as I said, isn't amazing, but it isn't ridiculously cold either. Now, if we do go over to the UKV and have a look at what the precipitation and the temperatures doing over the next 5 days, you can see the rain pushing in earlier today, and as we head towards this afternoon, you can see it has petered out, and then we got that weather front pushing in, and tomorrow we do see more unsettled weather trying to push in, but by Thursday evening, the higher pressure is building in, stays very unsettled for Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Republic of Ireland, but the higher pressure is building in for the southeast, initially cloudy, but it does start to clear through Friday into Saturday, and we actually start to go much more sunnier and drier as well. There will be a few patches of cloud around, but you can see it is pretty much bone dry through Sunday and Monday. The upper air temperatures very warm, around 8, 9, 10 degrees at 850 HPA. And look at the higher pressure, look at that. Southerly winds coming in off the near continent. This time of year still is reasonably mild. Now, if we do go to the 2 meter temperatures, you'll be able to see it as warm up quite significantly over the next couple of days. 11 or 12 today. Tomorrow, we're going to see those temperatures rise perhaps to a max of 14, 15, so starting to edge up, but still raining across the north and the west, so feeling cooler there. Into Friday, those temperatures could rise slightly higher, 16, maybe 17. Into Saturday, temperatures again, maybe 14, 15, 16 in areas, but where we have some thicker cloud, maybe only 10 to 12. And by Sunday, where it is quite widely dry, overnight temperatures dropping into the high mid-single digits, and Sunday afternoon maybe 10 to 15 degrees. Again, all dependent on those air masses and the cloud, because where we have the thicker cloud, it will hold those temperatures down as we head into Monday. But into next week, it does look like the westerly winds will return, as we'll see now on the GFS. So if we do now run through the GFS and see what that is showing over the next couple of weeks, you can see we've got a westerly flow at the moment, high pressure building in, southerly wind into the weekend before low pressure pushes back through around Monday, Tuesday time, and it goes very unsettled, potentially even quite stormy in the medium term. As we head towards around the 20th, you can see low pressure dives to our south, high pressure still up towards Scandinavia, and right towards the extended range, we do start to pull in an easterly wind. Now, this is the sort of blocking pattern we've been seeing on the weekly look-aheads, weekly anomaly charts from the ECWF in our winter look-aheads. So this is something that we would expect to be seeing from the model output, but it is at the sort of 300 plus hour time frame, so it is very uncertain. Look at the upper air temperatures, very cold air spreading into Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, temperature deviation, very, very cold, potential equivalent temperature, very cold as well, heading our way. But we will just have to see what happens. And again, you see we've got on dew points, look at that bitterly cold air heading towards us. But we'll have to see. But in the reliable time frame, around that day 7 to day 10 time frame, we're very unsettled. Look at that big low pressure systems pushing in, the high pressure still to our east, and it's that high pressure that could migrate northwards and westwards, but it all depends on what wind's out. Tropospheric polar vortex, lower pressure, or the higher pressure trying to move northwards, as that is the general mid to longer range signal for that high pressure to try and penetrate into the Arctic. But we'll have to see what happens, but for the time being, it's remaining very unsettled, potentially quite chilly as well, with a southerly tracking jet. You see that black lines going through Spain, Portugal and France, before it could turn more blocked and colder in the longer range. But we need to see that to come within the 10-day time frame and see it from other models before we will talk about it in any more detail. If you do have a look at the GEM, see how that does compare over the next 10 days. Again, a westerly flow at the moment, high pressure building in, southerly flow before again go very unsettled. All the way to day 10, we do remain unsettled. Jet stream does go temporarily southerly tracked before eventually heading back towards us. So that means those warmer air masses to our south do push slightly further northwards. So you can see we're more into the milder air. So yeah, we'll have to see exactly what happens with that again. Very similar to the GFS until day 10, just slightly milder perhaps into the longer term. But if you have a look at the pressure, you can see there is higher pressure trying to build towards Siberia and Scandinavia, but it's not really getting going too much. But again, something to keep an eye on in the longer term. If we do finish for the mid-long range models, we'll have a look at the ECMWF over the next 10 days. Again, low pressure rumbling in off the Atlantic, high pressure out to our east, pulling up a southerly wind, for again, low pressure tries to push in the longer term. And at day 10, southerly tracked jet stream, northwesterly winds, chilly air masses, and very unsettled. So we're in the greens here, so that is slightly below average for the air masses, so pretty chilly and yet very unsettled. Again, look at the upper air temperatures. We've got very cold air plunging into North America, very cold air plunging into Eastern Europe, and if we did see that pattern continue, we could, if we saw some blocking towards Greenland, see colder air come our way. But that is something that we're still hinting on in the longer term. For the time being, to the day 10 time frame, it's going very mild this weekend with a southerly wind, and then next week turning more average to potentially below average, with very unsettled stormy conditions. If you look at the ensembles, you can see very warm this week and then trending towards average. The ensemble members are actually slightly above average today, but they're still generally around a degree or so within the average sort of area, and it's very unsettled. Look at a lot of precipitation falling, and again, no signal of anything too crazy in the longer term, just generally average conditions really, but again, feeling quite chilly, and you can see that with the 2-meter temperatures definitely trending more towards that sort of 8 to 12 degree range, much more towards average, slightly above or slightly below, over the next couple of weeks. And that sort of mid-teens, maybe high teens we've seen so frequently throughout the autumn so far, does look likely it will be our last sort of pattern coming up this weekend. So do enjoy any of the milder weather you get this weekend. Again, it will all depend on sunshine amounts, because where we saw thicker cloud on the UKV, you saw the temperatures were held down even with the very warm upper air temperatures. So we'll have to see exactly what happens with that. If we do try and compare it to the ECMWF ensemble members, they haven't been really updating over the last couple of days, and you can see once again they're not updating beyond sort of the 10-day time frame. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I'll try and find a solution so we can view those as we head into the period where we get some real big uncertainties with the potential for some blocking towards the end of the month into December. It would be very useful to be getting both the GFS and the ECMWF ensembles. To be honest, we can actually have a look at the GEM ensembles and see what they're showing over the next couple of weeks if we do get them to load. You can see generally in the longer term we are trending back towards average after a very warm start. So again, following on very similar to the GFS. So as you can see, very unsettled next week, but we've got a warm weekend coming with drier weather, at least for a time, but heavy precipitation could fall in the north and west for a day or two towards the end of this working week, and in the longer term still a bit of a blocking pattern from the GFS, but we will have to see what happens with that. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.